Meeting Sailor Bob Adamson. I had been on the spiritual path for my teenage years. For about 30 years I had been involved in various paths and practices, including Christianity, Theosophy, the teachings of J. Krishnamurti, Buddhism, Hinduism, and yoga. There were others paths and teachers also, too numerous to mention here. In my mid-20s, I was introduced to Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj through books on their lives and teachings. Something about those great Indian teachers of non-dual spirituality seemed solid and unshakable. I found myself returning to their teachings over the years, even though I can't say I fully or even partially understood or experienced what they were talking about. Along the way, I did the circuit of many of the contemporary teachers involved in non-dual spirituality. There was undoubtedly a benefit, but I was not fully satisfied for some reason. Either it was my confusion or something was not fully clear in the teachings being presented. Most likely the former. For some reason my destiny was to meet Sailor Bob Adamson, one of Nisargadatta Maharaj's Western students. What I found was that there was only so much I could get from books and meditating on my own. The growth was there, but it was often slow, and I was not getting much direct experience. I vaguely felt that I was progressing, but if I honestly looked at my experience, I did not fully understand what the teachers were pointing to. Most importantly, my day-to-day life was not free of suffering. I knew the seeking was not over, something was missing. Had I not met Bob Adamson, the seeking might have gone on for decades, or at least until I met someone with a real understanding. Who knows who that might have been or when, but barring that, I am pretty sure the seeking and suffering would have continued for a long time. At one point, I met some Ramana Maharshi followers who had been on the path of self-inquiry for 20 or 30 years and still working at it, I might add. I was nowhere near their level of devotion, so it was pretty much out the picture that that approach would work for me. As I look at this now, it is not so much Ramana's teaching that is at fault, but the mind's inevitable tendency to turn any teaching into a practice. Practices, as I eventually learned, usually are interminable. This is because they are often based on false premises. Intuitively, I felt that it was important for me to meet someone who had realized their true nature, someone whom I could trust, someone whom I could talk with in order to share my doubts and concerns. However, I was unsure which teachers were authentic. None seemed to resonate fully. I used to read Nisargadatta Maharaj's dialogues frequently. I could not understand his teaching fully, given all the Hindu verbiage and translation issues he originally spoke in Marathi, but I felt intuitively that he was a free being. Many spiritual seekers, through reading his words, can sense the genuineness of his realization, even if they do not always experience everything he talks about. I used to wonder if there was anyone still living who had met Nisargadatta Maharaj and had really got the experience of self-knowledge. After all those years of searching, I eventually stumbled across Bob Adamson. Something resonated strongly. Even when I read the pages on his website, there was a strong feeling of maybe this is it. Just prior to discovering Bob Adamson, I had a vivid dream of Nisargadatta Maharaj, in which he was encouraging me not to give up the search for spiritual understanding. Shortly afterwards, I learned about Bob Adamson. Not wanting to miss the chance of meeting an authentic teacher, having missed the chance to see Nisargadatta Maharaj while he was alive, I decided to visit Bob in person in Australia. You can imagine my motivation, or perhaps desperation, in going to Australia on the chance that he might be able to clarify my doubts and questions. What I have found is that the understanding of our true nature almost never comes from reading books or thinking about it. The best books are primarily the records of dialogues that took place between a seeker and a teacher at some point in the past. In reading such books, we are trying to understand an experience that took place in the past through words and concepts on the page. A book is like a map pointing to something real that was experienced in a dialogue between living people. Usually, we do not have a clear understanding of what is being revealed, at least I didn't, and we are trying to figure it out in the mind. This is a noble attempt, but as Bob Adamson pointed out within a few minutes of talking to him, the answer can never be found in the mind. The experience of spiritual understanding and freedom is not forthcoming, so we naturally assume that we are not there wherever there is. We think there must be some technique or path involved to get there, but somehow we are not quite sure what it is. The result is that the mind keeps generating the same old bondage and suffering. This is a frustrating cycle, because we intuitively feel a glimmer of light or truth in the readings, but the actual experience eludes us. The majority of seekers that I have met have had a similar experience. Many are driven to try to find a living teacher, in order to get some guidance and assistance on the spiritual path. This was what happened for me. I met many teachers, but it wasn't until I met Bob Adamson that I was convinced that I was dealing with someone who had fully realized his true nature. Something radically shifted for me because I came face to face with the vitality, the confidence, the energy of that understanding. It was a remarkable experience and quite different from anything I had encountered in my years of seeking. The first day after I arrived, we had a chance to meet and talk. As we sat together, he looked me in the eyes and said point blank, "Do you have any doubts or questions? Is there anything you need to know?" It was somewhat disarming because I realized he was free of doubts and was essentially offering me a chance to have the same experience for myself right then and there. The implication, it seemed to me, was the seeking is over, the reading is over. You are here. Are you ready to go for this completely here and now? Fortunately, I jumped at the chance. I cast aside my theoretical knowledge and got down to getting off my chest my real doubts, questions and problems. Surprisingly, things cleared up very quickly. Being face to face with that clarity, coupled with my own desire to be free, allowed things to shift quickly. The basic teaching is very simple, almost too simple. It is so simple the mind overlooks it. What I didn't realize was that it has nothing to do with reading, meditating, doing something, working something out, stilling the mind, and so on. All of the techniques are looking in the wrong direction. Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, understanding is all. In essence, Bob was saying, right now in your direct experience, see what your real nature is. What are you right now? What have you always been? The thinking mind is useless for this because seeing or looking is not a conceptual function at all. It is more like seeing an apple in your hand. You just look, not think. Right now as you read this, you exist and you are aware that you exist. You are undoubtedly present and aware. Before the next thought arises, you are absolutely certain of the fact of your own being, your own awareness, your own presence. This awareness is what you are, it is what you always have been. All thoughts, perceptions, sensations and feelings appear within or upon that. This awareness does not move, change or shift at any time. It is always free and completely untouched. However, it is not a thing or an object that you can see or grasp. The mind, being simply thoughts arising in awareness, cannot grasp it or know it or even think about it. Yet, as Bob says, you cannot deny the fact of your own being. It is palpably obvious, and yet, from the time we were born, no one has pointed this out. Once it is pointed out, it can be grasped or understood very quickly because it is just a matter of noticing, oh, that is what I am. It is a bright, luminous, empty presence of awareness. It is absolutely radiant, yet without form. It is seemingly intangible, but the most solid fact in your existence. It is effortlessly here right now, forever untouched. Without taking a step, you have arrived, you are home. No practice can reveal this because practices are in time and in the mind. Practices aim at a result, but you as presence awareness are here already, only you don't recognize it till it is pointed out. Once seen, you can't lose it, and you don't have to practice to exist to be. This is, in essence, what Bob pointed out to me in the first conversation I had with him. Once I saw this, I felt very clear and free immediately. Later, some thoughts came up, some old personality patterns, some old definitions of who I thought myself to be. I seemed to lose the clear understanding of my nature as presence awareness. The next day I talked to Bob about it. He said, let's have a look. Do you exist? Are you aware? What is illumining the thought that you have lost it? Then I realized that thoughts of suffering were only passing concepts being illumined by the ever-present awareness. I hadn't lost anything at all. The awareness that we are is never obscured. Suffering seems real because we don't have a clear understanding of our true nature. Instead, we believe the passing thoughts such as I am no good, I am not there yet, I am stuck, or whatever the thought may be. Eventually we understand that we are not those thoughts. Once our real self is pointed out, the suffering loses its grip. Bob pointed out that there is no person here at all. The person that we think we are is an imaginary concept. There are thoughts and feelings and perceptions, but they are not a problem. They just rise and fall like dust motes in the light of the presence awareness that we are. The closest that the mind can come to representing who we are is the thought I am. But that thought is not who we really are. Whether that thought is there or not, we still exist. We know the thought I am. That thought is the start of the false sense of an individual, a separate I. Because we didn't know any better, the mind attached other labels to this I thought, such as I am good, I am bad, I have this problem, and so on, but those thoughts don't have anything to do with us because the very I thought itself, the sense of separation, is not actually who we are. Once you see the falseness of the I thought, that what we are is not an individual person at all, the identifications and ideas of a lifetime all collapse because they are all based on a false premise. There is no practice to overcome suffering. It is simply a matter of seeing that the false I is an assumption, that the whole mechanism is a conceptual house of cards. Then a lifetime of suffering evaporates. As Bob says, without the cause the I, can there be any effects, psychological suffering and bondage? As I sat on his couch at one of his talks listening to him say, there is no person, suddenly it hit me. I looked and saw that right now and here there is not a separate person in the picture at all. In that moment, all my doubts and confusion evaporated. I realized that all problems and questions stem from the sense of an I that was assumed to be there at the center of my life. Upon actual looking, I discovered it was not there at all. 15 years of meditating could not accomplish what occurred in a few moments of direct looking. In that recognition arose a direct and immediate sense of clarity and peace. I intuitively felt that the searching was over. I recall raising my hand and asking Bob, so when you see yourself as the ever-present awareness and that the I that we imagined ourselves to be is really non-existent, then there can be no more doubts, questions, or problems. Is that it? He confirmed that this was so. From that moment on, I have not felt any serious difficulty or suffering, nor felt the slightest desire or urge to seek, meditate, or pursue any particular spiritual path. The whole landscape shifted and I intuitively knew the seeking was over. The I upon which everything was based was not there. However, the shining presence awareness was still there without effort, the simple fact of our own being. Finally, Bob pointed out that all things arise in awareness and never exist apart from awareness. It is all one substance, all one light, it is all that, it is non-duality. There is nowhere to go and nothing to obtain. Everything is resolved. We live, move, and have our being in that one ocean of light and never, ever move away from that. This was the understanding that came to me, courtesy of Bob Adamson. It is all words, but maybe a glimmer of something will come through. Chapter 2, Why I use the term natural state. I use the term natural state because this true nature that we are is effortlessly present, spontaneously available, and requires no pursuit or acquisition. To me, natural implies something outside the influence of or not a product of conceptual thought. It is easy and natural. This terminology is by no means original. I just happen to like it. Natural is also the meaning of the term Nisarga, as in the name Nisargadatta, so there is for me a remembrance of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj, whom I admire and who is Bob Adamson's teacher. The term natural state also appears in other traditions, so it seems like a good non-denominational term. Whenever you use words, you have to pick something, so the term natural state seems as good as any. There are many good ones: presence awareness, cognizing emptiness, the clear light, the self-consciousness, the one mind, God or reality. They are all pointers. The word is not the thing, so there is no need to get hung up on the words. Chapter 3, Enlightenment in the Future. Right now you exist, you are aware. Without taking a thought, you are absolutely sure of your being. That is the essential reality being pointed to. All of the Buddhas and sages of all times are fully present at the core of the one who is reading these words right now. You will never attain this, never find it, and never know it as some object of thought or experience. Why? Because the very awareness that you are and have always been is fully and completely that now. We never become enlightened tomorrow because tomorrow is imagined in the mind. You always exist prior to the mind. At some point you turn back and notice the fact of your own being. Then you are home even though you never left home. This is not a result of some fantastic ability or spiritual prowess. It is just a matter of simple looking. Chapter 4. How this understanding unfolded for me. The way this understanding unfolded for me was through the following insights. Bob pointed out to me the truth of our nature as presence awareness or cognizing emptiness. Somehow that clicked for me. It was not so much the words which I had read countless times before. It was the energy or vitality coming through the words that was potent and impactful. I sensed he was not only saying the words, but also living from that realization. This enabled a resonance to occur. To meet Nisargadatta Maharaj in person and partake in a living dialogue with him would likely have been more potent than reading his book I Am That. There was a huge difference between reading the words on paper Your Awareness and having a direct disciple of Nisargadatta Maharaj tell me in no uncertain terms, You are awareness. After having seen this and feeling some sense of freedom, I still seemed to lose it when contradictory thoughts arose. Bob pointed out that this is in fact not possible. You cannot lose your true nature because it is the substratum of any thinking and perceiving. I realize that we can never leave this. Even if the thought I lost it arises, the awareness is there knowing that thought. So the thought is patently false. The knockout blow is seeing the absence of a person. There is no such entity in the machine. There are only thoughts, experiences, and objects arising and subsiding in awareness. There is no one controlling them and no one affected by them. Once this is seen, everything happens just as before, but the imagined person is removed from the film. The film goes on, but there is no person starring in it. There are thoughts but no thinker, actions but no actor, choices but no choice maker. Basically, there is no difference from before, except the sense of separation is gone, along with the psychological suffering, confusion and doubt that appears along with the belief in a separate I. There is no one at the controls. Life is happening, thoughts are arising, actions are occurring spontaneously. You as a separate person are not doing any of these things. You don't choose your thoughts, feelings, sensations. As Bob says, you are being lived. As a final tying up of loose ends, it was helpful to see the fact that all experiences are just movements in awareness. They are like waves arising and falling in the awareness that we are. It is all one substance. There is only one energy, one substance, one taste. Past, future, there, here, I, you, this, that, and so on, are all just conceptual distinctions. Even concepts are that awareness. So you can't win. So what is the result? As the writer Y. Wu Wai once wrote, the only problem is that 99.9% of everything you think, say and do is for yourself, and there isn't one. Coming into alignment with the true state of affairs means that the usual strife, struggle and suffering based on wrong understanding vanishes. Life goes on. It is like a dislocated limb popping back into place. You can hardly say what happened, but suddenly everything feels a lot better. Nisargadatta Maharaj said something to the effect, you can only put it negatively. There is nothing wrong anymore. There is a distinct recognition that the searching is over. You may read books or visit spiritual teachers, but you have the experience that they are saying what you already know. In actual practice, while this understanding is sinking in, the seeker is often plagued by vestigial doubts, questions, and concerns in spite of however advanced the intellectual understanding may be. I have seen many, including myself, able to converse on all this with the most incredible precision and verbal acumen. The only test is in day-to-day direct experience at the gut, emotional level. Is there any sense of suffering, separation, anxiety, or fear? Am I feeling doubt or metaphysical uncertainty? Is the knowledge of my true nature unshakable? If not, the understanding is not complete. The best course, it seems to me, is to find a living teacher and get your doubts resolved directly. Nisargadatta Maharaj used to say, I am not interested in what you have let go of, but what you are still holding on to. A good teacher can help us resolve any remaining doubts. Then the understanding simply remains clear and steady and beyond doubt. For me, this understanding was triggered by my association with Baba Adamson, who in turn had realized this through contact with Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj in 1976. Chapter 5. All problems are for the I. All problems, issues, concerns, questions, dilemmas, and so on are for the I. For example, I am happy, I am sad. I know, I don't know. I had it, I lost it. I was born, I will die. I am good, I am bad. These are just a few examples of self-centered thinking. As you can see, all these binding thoughts revolve around the sense of I. Nail down the identity of the I and all problems resolve. The imagined sense of being a separate I is the source of all problems. Because the I as a thought is really very intangible, all types of other ideas get wrapped around it in order to give it some semblance of solidity. All the self-definitions, identities, and apparent conditioning hinge on the unexamined sense of I. The most direct teachings set aside all philosophizing and theorizing and go directly into an investigation of the import, the real meaning of the word I. This, I believe, is Ramana Maharshi's self-inquiry. What is this that I call I? We are constantly saying I all day long, all life long, but what is this I? If the cause I is seen to be non-existent, can all the effects, all the definitions built on the I survive? I had read about this idea for years, but my entire view of life was radically altered when I actually investigated this for myself. The moment I saw that the person I thought myself to be was not there, that it was a false assumption, I directly experienced a profound freedom from all problems, doubts, and suffering. It was remarkable. I did nothing at all. There was just a looking and seeing that the person, the separate I, was not there. There was not a trying to be free or solving of any intellectual puzzles. That is about all I can say. You can never find the answer in the mind, so it is useless to look there. No amount of thinking can free you from the riddles created by thought. Problems, if there are any, are only created by the mind. They are a product of thought, but you don't have to do anything with thought, such as get rid of it, modify it, or suppress it. Just see that what you really are, right here and now, is that presence awareness that is the basis on which thought is happening. That which is knowing all your sensations, feelings, and emotions, is radiantly aware. It is effortlessly knowing and being. It is simply the clear, spacious presence of awareness, or as the Buddhists say, cognizing emptiness. Get a feel for this. Have the willingness to look at this. Sense it, feel it, be it, relax into it. Know with assurance that you are not a limited person bound up in thought. You are the sky-like presence awareness in which the whole universe is appearing. The next time you think, I am this or that, I have a problem, or whatever, just drop the apparent problem and ask, who is this I that I think I am? Is this what I really am? You can even investigate and try to find this I in your direct experience. Is there a sensation, a thought, or a feeling that you can call I? We say I, but precisely what is it? Then it will dawn on you, hey, am I not aware? Am I not present? Is not the presence of my true nature here, perfectly untouched, unsullied, like the sun shining above the clouds, completely unaffected by the appearance and disappearance of thought? This kind of looking will pull the drain plug out of the sink of the mind, and all problems will be sucked into the void of non-existence. I do not exaggerate when I say that a lifetime of problems will evaporate. As they say, a cave may have been dark for thousands of years, but when you bring a torch into the cave, the light instantly obliterates that darkness. Chapter 6. Understanding Awareness and Thought. When I came across Bob Adamson's book and CDs of his talks, inner changes started to happen. I didn't consciously do anything, but the grip of the conceptual thoughts began to loosen. Things began shifting and falling away. I could not even articulate what was happening, but there was an experience of freedom. I sensed it was right. When you come across a good, clear teaching, it is the wisdom and the clarity of the teaching that is liberating, not necessarily anything you do to make understanding happen. Ultimately, it is your own innate wisdom that is functioning in response to the clear pointers of the teacher. You trying to understand, who seemingly gets it and loses it, who struggles and so on, is not who you actually are. It is just a play of thoughts, of concepts, of unexamined assumptions about yourself and the world. You innocently pick them up in the course of living. It is these thoughts that create the perplexity and confusion. Notice that when you are asleep or absorbed in some interesting activity, your problems disappear. It is a key point to see that all problems are just created in thought and nowhere else. This is fundamental. All problems, doubts, and confusion are generated in thought. Not being clear on our true nature, we believe the concepts and stories in the mind, and they take us for a ride. Your living awareness, who you really are, is utterly present and not affected in the least by thoughts. You are aware of the mind just like the sun shines on the clouds. You are utterly free of thought. Whatever thought says about you is untrue. You are prior to the mind. There is knowing, hearing, seeing, and sensing going on all the time spontaneously. This primary awareness is present. It is prior to any conceptual activity. There is a fundamental difference between awareness, or the direct experience of knowing, and conceptual thought, which is just words and labels. We take the words and labels to be real. Can you drink the word water? Is the thought I see the same as actual seeing? Do the eyes say I see? Or is there simply seeing and later the thought comes up I see? It is the same for all the other senses. Try to see the difference between awareness or non-conceptual knowing or direct knowing and the labeling activity of the mind. Of course, thought is also directly known in awareness. Thought is happening in awareness directly, spontaneously. Later the thought comes up I am thinking. That I is spurious. It is not really present, except as a concept. You shine as the living light of pure awareness at all times, never touched by thought or its definitions. Out of ignorance we tend to focus on the thoughts and labels, the stories and the person imagined in thought. A subtle shift brings you back to the simple recognition of the fact of your true nature as presence awareness. The mind can never grasp at your true nature because it contains thinking. However, you can know for certain at any moment your real nature because you know you are aware, you know you exist, even without taking thought about it. Normally, this is overlooked because it is so simple. The mind is apt to minimize this pointing, but it is utterly profound. If you have the good luck to meet someone living in this direct understanding, he or she will point you back to this relentlessly, until it is as plain as the nose on your face. It is useless to struggle to get this. Just let the pointing draw you in. Feel the resonance. It will get you. Chapter 7, It can't be that easy, can it? Questioner, ha ha. John, glad to see you get it. Many is this seeker who has laughed when they finally got it, including Buddha. It is a cosmic joke. Question, if that is enlightenment, I have been enlightened forever without knowing it, all the while desperately searching for it. John, I am not sure you see how profound your words are. But basically, yes. What you are seeking, you already are. Just think over the core expressions of the great teachings. You are that your own mind is the Buddha, I and the Father are one, the eye by which I see God is the eye by which God sees me, and so on. This is the core insight at the root of all deeper spiritual teachings. A clarification may be helpful here. It is not exactly precise to say I am enlightened. An essential aspect of the understanding is that there is ultimately no separate I to be enlightened or unenlightened. Nevertheless, recognition of your true nature is possible. It is just that an individual cannot claim it as an experience. Question, you are kidding here. That's all there is to it? Is that what self-realization means? To simply know, feel, experience, and be the source of the thoughts about what you are, which never are and never can be what you actually are, because the real you precedes these thoughts and causes these thoughts. John, yes. Don't underestimate this understanding. The mind out of habit will want to dismiss this. It will say this can't be it, it is too simple. And then you are off around the track again. If you see yourself as that which stands prior to thought, you are outside of time, the universe, duality, birth, death, you name it. There is no bondage to speak of. Question: I am the projector of images and not the images. I am the very thing being presence, awareness that wonders what the hell it really is. I am the life that is trying to figure out what life is all about. I am the medium of awareness out of which these thoughts emerge. Is that it? John, that is you. You are timeless, ever-shining presence awareness. You can never lose it and never find it, because the one searching is that for which he is seeking. From this point on, thoughts, feelings, actions, and decisions will spontaneously arise as they always have. There is no separate individual at all at the helm. The mighty universe unrolls in the vast light of your true being. Because you are not a limited person at all, there is no more room for questions, doubts, and problems or all the rest of the conceptual apparatus that pertained when you imagined you were a separate I. You are the timeless ground of being. If the mind should arise and say, "But what about this and that?" simply notice the ideas as passing thoughts that have no relation to you at all. All thought, feeling, and perception appears in awareness. They have no existence apart from awareness. Just like waves arise and set in the sea, so do all thoughts arise and set in you. Thoughts are only vibrations in awareness. They are made of awareness. There is only one substance, one essence. There is only radiant, cognizing emptiness shining in all directions. That is all. You are that. There is only that. If you grasp this, the course is run. Question: there must be more to it than this. I mean, if this is it, the search is over right where it began. John: yes. I couldn't have said it better myself. Question: it can't really be that simple. Can it? John: yes. But I don't have to confirm it at this point, do I? Your question shows that the facade is beginning to crumble and the recognition is already dawning. Chapter 8: Dealing with the Mind. It is key to see that the mind simply cannot get this understanding. The doership, the practicing, the meditating, and so on are all at the mind level, but your knowledge of your existence, your awareness, is here immediately in direct experience. The reason the mind cannot get it is because the mind appears in that. You are present whether the mind is there or not. Sensing, thinking, and functioning are happening spontaneously and quite effortlessly without the conceptual activity having much of a role. You are seeing right now, but are your eyes saying, "I see"? I see is a thought, but seeing is happening. The mind is like a keyhole. You go up to it and look into it. No problem, but then you imagine that your whole life is taking place in the view within the keyhole. If you just step back, you notice there is an entire universe outside of the keyhole. There is no practice or activity within the view of the keyhole that can take you beyond it because you are beyond it already. Just listen to what is being pointed out. Feel the resonance. Your inner wisdom awakens, and you begin to sense the truth that is being pointed out. That is all. You cannot do anything as a separate doer to understand who you are. If you want to do anything, at least question, who am I anyway? I have taken myself to be the mind, to be bound by the mind. Is that really true? Till this questioning occurs, we take the beliefs in the mind to be the reality. The mind is not an enemy, and there is nothing in particular that we need to do with it. It really does not have any momentum, but until it is questioned we remain fascinated with the show. It is our own interest that fuels the momentum. Once you begin to glimpse your true nature as the awareness in which the mind and all else appears, you are out of the game. No effort or struggle is involved. The effort and struggle are part and parcel of the conceptual mind. If you find yourself struggling or fighting with the mind, you have taken a wrong turn. You have overlooked the presence awareness and have jumped on board the train of thought. Realize you don't need to do this. There is nothing compelling you to do it. Just see that this is all taking place in thought, but awareness, the real you, is free already. It is that simple. You do not become free, you notice your present freedom. The binding thoughts in the mind all have their root in the initial thought of separation, that thought. Until that is clearly seen, the mind will continue to give trouble. Nail that down, investigate that one thing, and the entire lifetime of concepts and self-centered activity, the bondage of the mind, is resolved. I say this from my own actual experience. This kind of seeing completely undercuts the mind without any personal effort. The cure for ignorance is wisdom, which is just clear seeing. Initially, this may be pointed out by a teacher, but then your own seeing kicks in and you can take it from there. Soon the knowledge is unshakable, and the need for a teacher is done. The wisdom or recognition arising in you is the response to recognizing the truth being pointed out. Your own innate wisdom is awakened and leads you to what needs to be seen. There is an innate intelligence within you that is much greater than the thinking mind. You intuitively know this. Just have a little faith in that. Say with the pointers. Let them resonate. All will unfold naturally. You will verify it in your own living experience and confirm it by the freedom from suffering and limitation that ensues. Chapter 9. What about reincarnation? Question. It seems like many people are curious about life after death, or everlasting life, or reincarnation. I also agree that what we truly are always will be. If I am that, what do you think transpires to that when the fragile phenomenal experience of the human mind-body organism comes to its inevitable demise? I understand any answer is only conceptual speculation at best. I understand we should be concerned with who and what and where we are now, and not speculate in or about the future or the hereafter, because doing so sets the stage for our own suffering, but I am curiously optimistic. John, I don't claim to be an expert in metaphysical doctrines such as reincarnation and so on. Within the realm of appearances, and while one takes oneself to be a seeker, there are endless theories and doctrines. Ultimately, they are all products of thought and imagination. They seem compelling to the seeker because they provide reasons to explain his seeming separate existence. The level of the mind, there are endless theories to explain the whys and wherefores of the individual person. They are largely speculative and never have any finality, but was your real nature ever born? Do you have any evidence that it dies? Is it in a body? As a point of fact, when pressed, both Ramana Maharshi and Nisargadatta Maharaj, the paragons of Indian spirituality of the last century, stated that reincarnation did not exist. Bob Adamson once said to me, "See the subtle trap trying to analyze what someone has said and what they mean. In doing that, presence is seemingly lost. Looking for a state or no state, a knowing or unknowing or anything at all, can only be conceptualization." This was in a different context, but you might find that in trying to unravel metaphysical conundrums in the mind that you overlook the obvious fact that you are free right now. Awareness is the changeless presence on which the universe appears. At a more relative level, we can descend into the realm of thought and metaphysical theories, but at that point one theory is as good as another, and they are all speculative. Stay with fundamentals. The answer is not in the mind. Even if one takes reincarnation seriously, who reincarnates? Investigation reveals there is no separate I. In the realm of appearance, you as an individual entity don't exist. The I is absent. How can the absence of an I reincarnate? If physical elements recycle, so be it. If thoughts recycle, so be it, but you remain as you are. The space like awareness that you are is timelessly present as it is. Either way you look at it, reincarnation looks rather tenuous. I am not attempting to deny the theories and mechanics of reincarnation, but it seems more direct to me to notice that there is only one awareness and everything is that. If waves reincarnate into other waves, so be it. The waves may be tremendously fascinated with where they came from, but the sea is not concerned. From the point of view of water, it is all one substance anyway. With your focus on your true nature as consciousness, you see that all theories are just movements in the mind. Awareness is real. Thoughts are shadows. The dream of reincarnation is a passing cloud before the blazing sun of awareness, which you are now. In my experience, it is more liberating to stay with solid facts, like you exist and you know you exist, rather than to engage in metaphysical debates, which are interminable. Instead of wondering what one was in a former life or will be in the next life, why not investigate what one is right now? Chapter 10: When Beliefs Drop Away. When you are first exposed to this understanding and lifelong beliefs get challenged, it can be slightly disorienting. The reference points that we took for granted for so long start to drop away. We have built a life upon the concepts and beliefs of who we are. For years, the focus has been to shore up the person, to accumulate, strengthen, and solidify its beliefs and concepts. As you begin to see through the false ideas, the tide turns. Initially, it may feel disconcerting or unusual, but at the same time, you feel immensely freer and lighter. Too much thinking and analyzing all of this just brings in the mind. Ultimately, words are only useful in their function as pointers to your true nature. The attempt to clarify things at a conceptual level or articulate the understanding in words can generate a mild sense of confusion. At some point, you just see that the mind appears in this that you are. You know thoughts, but thoughts can never know you as that presence awareness. Knowing your beingness, your actual existence is that space like awareness is non-conceptual and immediate. It does not require a mediating agent like the mind or the senses. To the mind, your true nature is no thing, that is, not an object. The mind cannot grasp no thing. This is baffling as long as there is a tendency to keep grasping for something objective. Fortunately, there is no need to do this. However, the old habits to do so may continue to arise for a while. If thoughts arise such as "I feel lost, what do I do now?" and so on, just question, who is this I that is lost or wants to know what to do? This I is just an empty assumption. The thoughts are only whorls of energy spinning in the light of awareness. There is no I at their center. The thoughts move on, but awareness remains free, luminous, and untouched. There is no one lost, no one who needs to understand, no one to do or not do, no one to be afraid. The conceptual I is the cornerstone of the person with all of its problems, doubts, and suffering. As the sense of identity shifts to your real being as presence awareness, the life of suffering dissolves like mist before the rising sun. There is no need to struggle to be what you already are. You are that now. Complete freedom is less than a step away. Chapter 11: The Bottom Line. The following is an excerpt from Bob Adamson's book, What's Wrong with Right Now, Unless You Think About It. Questioner: Bob, what is the bottom line? Bob: right here, right now you are present and you are aware of being present. Realize that you are that one without a second, pure presence awareness, and be what you are. Chapter 12: From Theory to Experience. What you are right now is awareness, or the sense of beingness. It is totally free, completely at peace, and utterly and finally attained, even at this moment. Not being clear on this that we are, the mind has imagined separation and built a set of beliefs and identities upon this unexamined concept. When you get exposed to this type of teaching, several things begin to happen. First, you get a glimpse of what your true nature is. It is pointed out, perhaps repeatedly, until you see it and know it for certain. This is the most important insight to start with. Your actual being, which is radiantly present and alive, is that which is knowing your thoughts right now, is the truth that is pointed out. There is no other understanding or realization beyond this. In fact, you know this now. You exist and you know that you exist. All a teacher does is assure you with the greatest conviction that this is it. Most of us have had a lot of baggage in the form of beliefs about what this understanding is, how it is supposed to happen, and so on. This type of teaching helps to expose those erroneous beliefs, not to mention the beliefs we have about ourselves. It is only these unexamined beliefs that generate our suffering and our sense of being apart from the peace we are seeking. Everything happens as it happens. It is only from the limited view of the mind and its beliefs that we judge right and wrong. All evaluations are in the mind. From the point of view of what we are, everything is simply a manifestation of the deep harmony of what is, just an arising and ceasing in the light of awareness, which is ever at peace and free. This is true for you right now once you clear up the confusion about your real nature. This does not take time. There is no path to this, and no practice is required. It is just seeing the truth of things. Everything arises and sets in the light of your being. Nothing is separate from that. Forms appear and disappear, but nothing is ever lost or gained. Everything that appears arises from that, exists upon that, and subsides into that. In spite of the appearance and disappearance of people and things, there is a luminous, ever-present background that sheds a fragrance of perfection that permeates everything. That is your birthplace, your true home. Know yourself clearly and all of this begins to make sense. It becomes your direct experience. If you are resonating with this type of teaching, then this understanding is already opening up for you. Just follow your heart and let the understanding unfold. Your own deeper being will lead you where you need to be and will reveal to you what needs to be known. Then you will realize that life is perfect here and now and that you have never left the peace and truth that you are seeking. Stay with the pointers. Savor them like fine wine. Let the pointing unfold within your own heart. Most important of all, see your own true nature as it is. All the pointers are only to reveal this. Chapter 13, The Spiritual Search. Question. The question I keep asking myself is, does this dream of a search in a person who is searching have anything to do with the appearance of grace and realization? John, it depends on what is meant by grace and realization. To me, grace and realization are just other terms for your true nature, call it self, being, awareness, presence, God or spirit. That never appears, as it is the basis on which all appearances arise and set. From the point of view of the one who imagines himself to be separate and a seeker, there are many questions that seemingly need to be understood. From the point of view of your actual nature as awareness, everything is simple, direct and clear. Don't worry too much about the questions and issues that the mind raises. The answer is not in the mind. The grace and realization you are looking for is the ordinary awareness shining at your core right at this moment. Understand this and you understand everything. Question. Is the motive to be free coming from that which is beyond? Because it seems to me to be part of the dream too. John, that is not beyond. It is here and now. Having apparently forgotten your true nature and identified with unquestioned beliefs in the mind, your innate wisdom simply moves to restore clarity. Some appearances turn back and realize their source, some don't, but it doesn't matter because no one has ever left that. Pure awareness is a brute fact. It is undoubtedly present and intuitively obvious. Questions appear at the level of thought and mind. As long as the existence of the separate I is not questioned, questions, even apparently cogent spiritual questions, will go on. Once you see your nature as awareness, you will find there are few, if any, questions remaining. You are home, you are at peace, there is a sense of oneness. The desire to seek, to know and to do falls away because the root driver of all of this, the separate person, is not in play any longer. Losing, finding, awakening and so on are all just appearances in the light of being awareness, which looks on with affectionate detachment. Question. Is there even a point to the search? John, who is asking? Instead of trying to answer questions like this, you might find it is interesting to investigate who is asking. There is no ultimate finality or answer to questions as long as the sense of separateness survives. Whether the answer to this question is given as yes or no, you still need to know yourself and resolve the core fundamental metaphysical question, who or what am I? All questions are just different ways of asking, what is real? What am I? What is my true source? Clear up the fundamentals, and the other issues resolve themselves automatically. As far as whether there is a point to the search, I would say, if pressed, the answer is both yes and no. From the point of view of the seeker who imagines himself to be separate, there is no more relevant undertaking than to resolve the question, what am I? From the point of view of awareness, your real essence, the search is pointless, because you are already what you are seeking. Awareness is already free and completely present in all its fullness. The questions go on because the seeker is not clear on his true identity. See yourself as that awareness. see that the separate seeker is not really there, and the entire search comes to an end, because, as mentioned above, you are what you are seeking. Before this became clear to me, the sense of seeking had gone on in various forms for about 30 years. Afterwards there was and is a distinct sensation that the seeking is finally and completely over. It is not a mental assertion but a core gut-level sense. Question: what has been your experience with this? I'm guessing I'll need to find out for myself. John: you certainly need to see all this for yourself, or else it remains just an interesting story. None of it is particularly relevant unless something in you resonates. I have a sense that you are deeply interested in all this, so I am sure the unfolding is happening for you already. Chapter 14: Thinking versus Knowing Who We Are. Questioner: if I experience reality through the mind, how is it possible to go beyond it other than by changing the thoughts? John: I am not precisely clear on what you mean by experiencing reality through the mind. Your sense of being and awareness is actually unrelated to thought. You don't need to think to be aware. It is not necessarily intuitive from a mental perspective, but once you see this, things fall into place. Like you, I had read Nisargadatta Maharaj's books for several years. Yet in all the verbiage and trying to understand things with the mental perspective of looking for it as an object or experience, the obvious got overlooked, until Bob Adamson threw me back relentlessly upon what is here and now. Question: for example, now today after reading the articles on your website, I catch myself thinking, yes, but I read Nisargadatta 20 years ago and it resonated then, but I still identify with the mind. These are the types of thoughts that go through my mind. I can come back to asking myself if I exist, which is undeniable, and maybe there is a feeling of being closer to the truth, but then mind rushes in again and I am back in it again. For you or Bob, there must have been some fundamental change in viewpoint or perspective, and now you, even in mind, for your thoughts support your realization of what you have perceived, sense that intuitive truth. John: the bottom line is that you are that presence or awareness now. When you first get exposed to this, the mind and all the concepts want to rush in with what if, and but, and so on. Then you are pointed back again and again to the fact of your own being. Through force of habit, we instinctively look to the thoughts as a gauge of where we are, but it is looking in the wrong direction. Thoughts appear in awareness, which is what you really are and always have been. It is like being above the clouds and then looking down at the clouds searching for the sun. You say, look at all the clouds. They keep arising. Where is the sun? But if you turn around, you notice that the sun is behind you, and it is illuminating the clouds. It is even what is allowing you to see them. The sun really has nothing to do with the appearance or configuration of the clouds. It is a subtle shift but has profound effects. We have been looking in the wrong direction, and this can be quickly remedied once this gets pointed out. It is not really anything you need to practice. You just notice it. The answer is not in the mind. If you ask most people to look across a room and say what they see, they will usually name the various objects. You will say they notice the space, but once this is pointed out, you notice that everything takes place in space. It is the same with awareness. Once you get a feel for it, the center of gravity starts to shift from fixating on the thoughts to just relaxing into your true being of self-knowing awareness. Question: how do I get there or here, as the case may be? John: you don't get there. You are there now. Your existence awareness is here and now always. If I can make a suggestion, don't be concerned at all with thoughts. The rising of thought has nothing to do with any of this. Be more interested in what thoughts appear in and on. That is the direction to explore. Dealing with thoughts is interminable and there is no freedom forthcoming from doing that. I know from experience, believe me. Know your true nature and thoughts take care of themselves. Just as a heads up in case you are wondering, thoughts will continue to arise for the rest of your life, just as they did before. But knowing your real nature, you will not be concerned like you were before. Peace does not lie in a peaceful mind, but in establishing your identity in that which is deeper than the mind. You are that even now. It just takes a little looking to clarify this. Chapter 15: When Thoughts Rush In. Questioner, thank you for taking the time to write about the natural state and things that happen when exposed to this teaching. I have Tony Parsons' book as it is, and I love the chapter The Park. Actually, I love the picture before the chapter. When I look at that picture or any landscape from my car or porch, for instance, I can notice that for a moment that I see, but the person seeing is not there, but then thoughts rush in. I have this concept that the me will eventually disappear, that this story of me and my life that is ongoing much of the time in my head will just dissolve into seeing. I know I can't make this happen. Is it grace or the big aha? John, don't worry too much about when will I get enlightened. See the paradox in that? Who is that I? You, as the awareness, are fully present as the one knowing the thoughts. It doesn't matter if thoughts rush in or anything like that. I finally realized that so-called awake beings have just as many thoughts, emotions, and experiences as anyone else. Nothing objective changes necessarily. Let that sink in. Right now, you exist and are aware. There is a light within you and knowingness that enables all your perception and thinking. It is fully present and luminous. It always has been present. We just overlooked it. When we pursue spirituality, we imagine all kinds of grand occurrences and events like enlightenment, grace, the great moment, or whatever. Why not? It is innocent enough, but it is based on a false assumption, the assumption we are apart from that, and that we are a separate I that needs to get there. I encourage you to question your assumptions and notice what is real in your experience. That is all that is required, just a simple noticing of what is here at this moment. It will dawn on you that your nature is just this present awareness. It does not depend on thought. It does not come and go. It just hits you that you are there already. And you are. No grand experience is needed because you already are that. Question: when my students I teach high school art finally see conceptual clarity what I'm saying, they get that baby bird look with the little O mouth and big eyes. It is like the light comes on. Suddenly, they know inside what I've been describing. This is how I envision awareness to be. John: yes, just a childlike recognition, but you don't need to envision what awareness would be. Aren't you aware right now? There is no need to envision that, is there? Question: a sudden and complete understanding that was always just below the surface, however, this light has not dawned for me yet. I sense it there, but the lack of joy and ease in my life indicates to me that I am not awake. There is still the longing to be free. John: in one's experience this is how it feels. This is exactly how it was for me. You will be drawn to these teachings because there is an innate sense that you need to know yourself clearly. You intuitively start to realize how shaky is your conception of yourself. It manifests in doubts and suffering at some level. So life draws you where you need to be to have this pointed out. Then it becomes your knowledge and experience. All I can suggest is not to take too seriously your questions and beliefs, such as the light has not gone on yet or I am not awake yet or whatever. Instead of taking these questions at face value, question them a bit. Make it an interesting inquiry. What is the light that has not gone on yet? Where is the switch? What is the